Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, the people of the tube, perverted finger and all as well in your world. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of How to Play Like the One and Only Mr. John Frusciante. Today I am going to teach you the bedroom lick. There has been lots and lots of requests, so I thought today the time and the place was correct. So let's get on with it. Excuse me. Some things to note before we get into it. He plays, the bedroom lick is actually in E flat. It's not in standard tuning. So I'll give you all the kind of the notes when we get into the next section. I'll show you those notes first so you can tune your guitar accordingly. I will show you at the end in standard tuning. It's exactly the same. It just sounds a little bit different, but you can do it in standard. There's no law saying you can't. But for it to sound right, it does need to be in flat. The amp John was using looks like a 15 watt Squire practice amp to me. It's off to his left side in the video, and the sound you want to be going for is kind of like that usual kind of John thing, you know, just kind of like a gritty clean tone, but a little bit brighter than usual, just to get those bits kind of snap back at you a little bit more, so to say. So I'm using the CL12030 channel. I've let you know, got the volume on 10 as usual, treble on 0 as usual, middle is on 2, bass is on 2, and gain is at 3.5, and it just gives me that kind of, like I say, that kind of attack. So when you kind of get those and, you know, about those kind of things, just snaps back at you, so to say. So that's the kind of sound you want to be going for if you want to kind of go for it. But you can play it on any sound, as long as it's not heavily distorted, saturated. Mush. Anyway. Without further ado, let's get to the bedroom lick, which is actually recorded in his living room, but everyone calls it a bedroom lick and I don't really know why. Anyway, let's get to it. Okie dokie, so before we get started, the notes you want to tune to, E flat, are this. So starting on the low E, this is the low E. Okay, A. D. Plectrum got in the way there. G. B. B gets 3. And high E finally. And why not? Okay, so your E minor sounds like that. And they say it sounds almost a bit out of tune because it's kind of like a semitone out. So, and John's isn't quite flat. It's just, you know, it's shy of it, but it's not really much shy of it. And I'm guaranteed he probably just tuned it by ear. So, so yeah, that's the tuning. That's the flat tuning you want to be in to play the bedroom lick properly. And yeah, so let's get on with the first part, which is this intro, which I found the other day, which I never even knew existed. So let's get on with that. Okay, so let's get on the way. There's an intro to the bedroom lick, which I never knew existed, and I'm going to show you it now. It's just this. I'll do it like John does it. And then he goes into the bedroom lick we all know and love. So what this intro is just an F major chord, and the way John, I'll teach you the way John plays it. So first finger is thumb behind the neck, first finger is on the first fret on the low E, ring finger is on the 3rd fret on the A, little finger is on the D string on the 5th fret, and your middle finger is on the 2nd 7th fret. I wish gets stretched like that. Anyway, is on the 2nd fret on the G string. And basically the high B, the B and the high E are not being played. So it's just those 4 notes. So that's that, and the rhythm is this. And one more time, slower. So that's the first chord, and then what he does is he slides up to a 5th fret to an A major, and as he slides, his thumb comes over the top, and he gets to the more traditional Jimi Hendrix, John Frusciante way of playing major and minor chords with his thumb over the top. So now we get to the 5th fret, thumb fretting the 5th fret on the low E, ring finger 7th fret A, little finger on the 7th fret on the D, your middle finger is now on the 6th fret on the G, and your first finger is barring the B and the high E strings on the 5th fret. So far you want to be doing this. So just 2 strikes on that A. Because there's a diddly-dum coming up. So, first one. There you get. Before you get into that. So, the diddly-dums, basically what you're doing is, because John does the full chord here, and then he swaps his fingers. So, the little finger goes away, and your ring finger, now becomes the diddly-dum finger. And the diddly-dum happens between the 6th fret on the G, where you hammer onto the 7th fret on the G, and then pull off, and then finish up on the 7th fret on the D. So, there. And this happens twice, so it's 2 strikes on the A, and then you swap your fingers, like that. So really slow the whole intro. One more time without being mega sloppy. And I say at speed it's more like this. Okay, so that's the intro that I didn't even know existed until I saw it the other day on this kind of like extended cut of it, and that's ace. That's like a missing bit of the bedroom lick, so to say. It's really, really cool. So that's that, and now we're getting into the bit we all know and love. That bit. So what you're doing is you're starting on the A string on the 5th fret, and you're sliding it, and you really need to dig into the guitar on this bedroom lick. You know, John isn't messing about with the guitar. He's really, hitting the guitar with a lot of conviction. So 5th fret A string, and you slide up to the 7th fret A string, and really get a snap out of it. And then you're hitting this double stop down here. So your middle finger wants to be on the 7th fret G string, and then your ring finger wants to be on the 8th fret B string. And John vibratos it. And you don't have to vibrato it if you can't, don't worry about it if you can't, you will be able eventually to, but you don't need to do it. It's not a necessary thing, so to say. It's just basically John being dead aggressive with the guitar. It's not a kind of necessary kind of thing. So, again, so you slide from the 5th fret on the A to the 7th fret, and then the overslid, and then you hit that double stop. So one more time, really slow. So that's the first chord, that's the first kind of little section, and then what we do is we go into this kind of D major kind of triad thing. So basically, from that, we go now barring the D, G and B strings on the 7th fret to get this kind of D major kind of triad. It's a nice change, it really flows. And that's the important thing about this bedroom lick, and there's actually John actually messes up, and I'll talk about that later on, but for this point in time, let's focus on where we are. So that's the first part, and I'll try and do like one finger kind of changeover, so you get the, and then to that D major, and then once you get to this D major, you're kind of doing, it's kind of like a half a diddly dum. It's kind of a diddly. It's a Ned Flanders part, if you will. So excuse that extra note, but it shouldn't be there. So what that is basically, that's the rhythm you want to be playing up to the diddly. And then you're hammering on to the 8th fret on the B string from the 7th fret, keeping that whole chord in place. And you can use your middle finger or your ring finger or your little finger. I use my ring finger, it just feels a lot easier. Got more control, so I'd say it feels a bit more choked over. So, and you keep that triad down. And it's, as I say, it's not a full diddly dum because you're not doing that. It's just that. So you're hammering on to the, to the 8th fret on the B string, and then just pulling off back to the 7th fret on the B string, and it's all in the chord. One more time. So the whole thing so far is this. Without the intro, just the bit we kind of know. One more time, really, really, really slow. And one more time for look. And forgive the fingers trying to do what they want there. So that's kind of like the first section, and then what we're doing is we're moving this triad. These 3 fingers on the D, G and B, we're going to slide them up to the 5th fret, to this chord here. So, and make sure you don't get the high E in, because it'll just sound wrong. So, you know, that high E string wants to be muted, and your E and the A want to be muted as well. Just the D, G and B strings. So, okay, so one more time. And it's got a flow, but you've really got to be aggressive with it as well. Don't kind of like, don't kind of tap it, really hit it into the guitar. And then once you get to here, we're adding in now the A note on the low E. And John kind of used one of his fingers. It was a bit of a weird thing. I think he used his middle finger, but I find it a lot easier to use my thumb. So once you kind of like once you get to that C, I find it a lot easier to use my thumb, but you can do like John does and use one of your other fingers. Yeah, it's fine either way. Sorry about that. I had an itchy eye and I couldn't see what I was doing, and it's still a bit weird. Okay, so yeah, so far, we've sliding back up here, and then once you hit that once, you want to hit this bass note, and then go back to the C triad, and just leave that ringing out. But try not to hit the A note below E again. Just let it ring out. Don't let it don't keep strumming it, so you get that chord. Just let it ring once. So like that. So we've just slid from the D to the C. So you're not hitting it again. Just let it ring out. So far, the whole thing we're doing is this. And one more time. Okay, so after that, we've got this kind of, after we kind of like finish off with it, we've got this bit, which is just awesome. So what we're doing here, this kind of brings it back into the E for the next time around. We're between the 5th and the 7th fret on the low E, and again, no messing around, hit the guitar, make it whoom, it kind of it has this real kind of compressed kind of snap sound. So 5th fret to the 7th fret on the low E, and then you move down to the A strings, 5th fret to the 7th. So like that. So both on the 5th to the 7th on the E and then the A. And then you do then you play the 5th to the 7th on the A again, but you're not hammering on, you slide from the 5th to the 7th. And you really, you know, really vibrato that really quite aggressively. So really slow. I'll try and do it with 2 fingers. I say, if I'm missing something out, hopefully you can kind of see. And that sets us up for the second time around. So the whole thing so far, including the intro, is this. I'll try and do it really quite slow. So that's the whole thing so far, and I say the main section, really slow, is... I love that. You know, and you can hear how hard John digs into it. It almost sounds like he's using his fingers, but he's not. He's just really heavy-handed. Super cool. So, so that's the whole thing so far. Of the bedroom lick. So let's move on to this next section, excuse me, and this is where John makes a mistake, and the song kind of, the actual kind of like riff he's playing, it kind of falls out of sync, so to say, and he stops for a second for it to fall back into sync with his inbuilt metronome, so to say. And so let's talk about, well, let me show you the next section and I'll talk about that at the end actually. So let's talk about this next thing. Okay, so once we've slid back to the 7th fret on the A, we do that chord again. You know, the double stop down here on the 7th and the 8th fret on the G and the B. And then we do this, which is really, really cool and lovely and melodic. So we're going up to the 9th fret on the A, and we're hammering on to the 10th fret, and then pulling off from the 10th fret back to the 9th fret, and then sliding down to the 5th fret on the A string. So one more time. And that's where John kind of, he almost doesn't come through that bit. Almost doesn't come through when he plays it, but it's really, really nice. And then once we get to this 5th fret on the A string, we now hit this triad again on the 7th fret. So the whole thing so far after the is this. And you kind of got this full D major chord now. And again, when you hit that 5th fret on the A, when you hit that triad, try not to hit the A string, just let that keep ringing out. So, because if you hit it at the same time, the A string will kind of drown out the triad, and it kind of makes it a bit more bassy, whereas John, what he does is kind of, to make these 3 notes on the D, G and B stand out more, he just leaves that ringing, and then hits the triad. You know, and it's all, a lot, again, it comes down to that accuracy with your right hand, which John seems to always have, of just hitting your A string and then hitting your D, G and B at a moment's notice, without that A string becoming overly powerful and that kind of, that triad really standing out. You know, it's a Jimi Hendrix kind of thing, really, Curtis Mayfield kind of guitar thing. So that section... Nope, I wasn't quite right. Sorry, I do apologise. And it's kind of like, and this is where John messes up, and I can kind of see why. It's kind of a bit of a funny section, but I'll talk about it a bit more later on. So the whole thing so far, from the intro to this part, next section, which is where we move this bass note from the 5th fret on the A to the 3rd fret on the A, which is now a C. C note. So, and this is where the mess up happens, but I'll talk about that later on. And it's the exact same thing again. Hit the bass note, and then hit the D, G, and B strings afterwards, just to make it a bit more kind of pronounced. And you kind of do that as an exercise, really, just to kind of like, to get an idea, and also to help your right hand become a bit more accurate. So second section so far. And one more time, really slow. And then you have to wait for a second for the time to come back around before you do this, which is very Jimi Hendrixy. So what we're doing here to kind of round off the second section is we're sliding from the 5th fret to the 7th fret on the A, and then we're going down here to the 5th fret on the D, and then we're doing a kind of a diddly-dum kind of thing, so I'd say. But it's not really a diddly-dum, it's... So you're kind of fretting the note, it's kind of more a pull-off kind of thing. So 5th fret on the A to the 7th fret on the A, D string 5th fret, and then you play the 7th fret on the D, pull off, and then fret the, and to finish off, you pull off to the 5th, and then you finish off on the 7th fret on the A. Let me do it with 2 fingers. One more time, super slow. And it's quite fast. And again, it's digging in, really digging in. It's really snappy. To get back in, and then once kind of like you go back to this, once you get to kind of like the 7th fret on the A, you go back to your 5th fret on the A, and then slide back up to the 7th fret on the A for the kind of second to last part of the bedroom lick, so to say. So let's get to that section. Okay, so the whole thing so far, I'll try and do it as slow as I can without getting carried away and getting all excited by this. Into the 3rd section of a bedroom lick, if you will, kind of penultimate section, if you will. So once we're doing the and slid back to the 7th fret on the A, we're doing that again. So that's kind of like the go-to chord in this. So go back to that first chord, but now we're changing to a B minor chord. So what John does, and you put your thumb now onto the 7th fret on the low E to get your B note. So, and again, can't stress how important it is to hit the guitar. And then we've got this real Hendrixy twiddle. So what we're doing here, so once you hit that B note, you want to be barring your G and your B strings with your first finger on the 7th fret. And then it's kind of like a hammer-on, pull-off, diddly-dum thing. But again, it's not really diddly-dum, it's more of a diddly. So you hit that bass note, and you're hammering on to the 10th fret on the B, but it's kind of, you play that G note as well. So the G and the B string are constantly playing, but you pick out that kind of, that diddly, so to say. So you got those two barred, and you reach over with, I use my ring finger, it's just easier. You can use your little finger if you want, or if you've got huge hands, you can use your first finger. But I don't. So that's the next bit. So it's kind of like a it's like you play the note and then you kind of hammer on, and then just pull off. Sounds quite strange out of context, but and after that we go for this. This is very strange. You bar the A, D, G and B strings on the 5th fret, which is a very strange sounding chord, but he does do it, I swear. Which is very strange. So the whole thing so far, including the intro, is this. I'll try to do it slow. And you basically hit that D note, the 5th fret on the A, and then you hit the rest of the chord with that in it, and it's a very strange sound, but it works so nicely. It sounds really strange if you just do it like that, but in the context of the bedroom it sounds great. And then we've got this kind of little lead bit, so to say, which is you bend up the G string. I use my middle finger supported by the first finger to bend up the G string, and you bend it up a tone, and then you want to be, while that's up, you want to be playing the 7th fret on, the 8th fret on your B string, like that, and then you release your first bend, and then you release to the 5th fret on the G, and you finish up on the 7th fret on the D. One more time. And that fits in like this. One more time, try and do it really, really slow. And that will take a bit of getting used to, because it's kind of a bit of a thing. And John, I think, does it like this. But I can't, my little finger just won't, it doesn't like it so much. So it has to be kind of reinforced by that. So the whole thing so far, including that, and I say that's probably the hardest section. That section there, it's probably the kind of a funniest kind of bit. So after that, and I say just take your time with this. There's no rush. You don't need to learn it in an hour. You know, just take your time, just get it right, really. And I say to just kind of like, you know, be quite aggressive with it, and you know, just really go for it. So the next section, which you can barely hear because there's kind of like Flea starts. I think Flea starts talking over the top of it. Because it's the way it's edited, the V Pro, is you go back to your B, and you do that. So you're going back to, and you're not playing your A, so your A string is muted by your thumb over the top. So your thumb is on the 7th fret on the low E, A string not played, ring finger wants to be on the 9th fret on the D, first finger wants to be on the 7th fret on the G, it's that chord. You're not playing your B and your high E, and they're muted by that first finger. So they're not played. So, and then you do this while keeping that bass note fretted. It's almost like Spanish Castle Magic by Jimi Hendrix. You know, it's that kind of thing he's doing there, but he's not doing a double stop, he's just doing single notes. So again, once you go to that, you can slide, you don't need to, I don't think John does, I just did. So you go to that again, 7th fret with a thumb, A string not played, 9th fret on the D, first on the, and then 7th fret on the G. So from that bit really slow. And one more time. And then we move up a semitone to the C major, and we're doing this kind of chord again. A string is no longer played, and we get if you kind of recall kind of like my little kind of pretty little ditty finger practice thing, but kind of that comes into effect here quite well, because what he kind of seems to be doing, you can't really hear it, but you can kind of see him doing it, is after that he's kind of going, you know, into the end of the bedroom like. So you go from the B, which is those 3 notes, to up to the C major chord, which is thumb on the 8th fret on the low E, A string not played, ring finger on the 10th fret on the D, middle finger on the 9th fret on the G, and then your first finger bars the bottom 2 strings on the 8th fret on the B and E. So and you can just strum that if you want. John does to put twiddles in it. I can't actually make out exactly what he's doing, but it sounds like he's doing this. You know, it's just a kind of like, you know, really Hendrixy. You can kind of mess around with that, to be fair. You can do anything. So yeah, I mean, that's, you can't do anything there. But what John seems to be doing is hammering on with his little finger onto the 10th fret on the B, and then that high E string on the 10th fret on, and then does a diddly dum with his first finger. Sorry about that, my camera in its infinite wisdom decided to turn off on its own, like it has a mind of its own, or it was a ghost, I don't know. Anyway, where was I? After the B, and what you do is you finish on this triad here on the 9th fret on the D, G and B. That's how he finishes it. So after on the B, C, and again on that C you can do whatever you want. That is a free range chord because you can't really hear what he's doing anyway. But you know, you can just do what you want there. And it's nice to add a bit of yourself into it. It's really cool. So the whole thing, I'll try and play it as slow as I can, and then I'll play it kind of what I kind of perceive as proper speed. So, intro. I'm doing it really fast. Sorry, I will try again. I tend to use my middle finger there to kind of mute that last chord. So that's muting the E and the A strings, and that's kind of muting the high E. So you're just getting those 3 notes. So again, it's kind of like at proper speed now, kind of like this. And that's the bedroom lick. I want to talk about this mistake that John makes now, because it happens in like the second section of a bedroom lick where he kind of this section here, you can see it kind of, when he plays, he kind of falls out with it, if you know what I mean. It falls out of time. It doesn't, and he has to wait for a second. You can kind of feel that when you're watching him play. You can kind of feel it's kind of staggered. It kind of, I can't actually do it, but he kind of does this. Hang on, that's not right. It's like that, and you can feel it's kind of like, no, come on, and it's not quite there, because it kind of, and then there should be a gap there. But what he does, when he gets that C, he kind of goes, and to kind of bring it back in, that kind of triad comes in at a very strange time, and it's where he's kind of thinking of where to go with it, because it's obviously in it just like a little improvisation he did on the spot. So he's kind of like figuring out where he's going with it, and he fell out of time with the D. The D kind of froze him a bit, but yeah, that's it, and he gets back into it, and it's really, really cool. But again, I hope this video has been informative. I hope this has taught you the bedroom lick. I've had so many requests for it, and I really hope this video is good. If not, you can all come around and beat me up and say, it's not good enough, Dave, try again. But yeah, it's awesome. It really is a cool little thing, and I say, just, I mean, John's like 18 or 19 years old there, and that's just sickening, isn't it? How can you play that good at that age and like that? It's insane. But so yeah, it's really, really cool. It's a very cool thing to learn. It's really nice to say. You have the really kind of snappy, you know, Hendrixy kind of things, and kind of like, you know, the John Frusciante things, and really nice chord use. Really, really nice chord use. I mean, it's only technically about 4 chords long, really, kind of mainly. But well, technically just 3. But anyway. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to let you all go. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon for another one. Yeah, hope it's been informative. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now.